All right, here's our last section from chapter 3, 3.7. In this section, we're going to do a couple different examples of writing equations of lines. They're going to give us some information, and we've got to put it all together to write my equation like a linear equation, probably in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. If you recall that if I have any 2 points, we should always be able to find the slope of that line through those 2 points by using our slope formula. Remember our change in y's over our change in x's, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1? Well, I found a cool video from Khan Academy that kind of shows us how we can take that slope formula and manipulate it into a different formula called point slope form, where we can actually use this form as long as we have two things, a slope and a point, and we can find the equation of any line. As long as I have a slope and a point, I can plug my information into this point slope formula. I can plug the slope in here and the x and the y value from the point here, and I can find the equation of any line. Let's do a few examples. Let me show you. In example number 1, it says here to find the equation of a line given the information. Write your answer in point slope form and then in slope intercept form. Okay, so remember there's two things I need in order to write the equation of a line. I need a slope and I need a point, which in this one it gives me. It gives me the slope of 3/4 and a point of 4,5. I should be able to take that point slope form and I should be able to plug in my slope and the x and the y of my point. So here we go. Point slope form says y minus whatever my y1 is, which in this case would be 5, equals m, which is 3/4, times x minus x1. You'll notice that I have x's and y's still in my equation because I don't know what a second point is. I only know one point on this line, but I can plug in the x and the y of that point and the slope that they give me. All right, now I should be able to take this equation and manipulate it and make it look like y equals mx plus b. Before I can get the y by itself, let's go ahead and distribute the 3/4 through. 3/4 times x is 3/4. 3/4 times -4 is -12 over 4, which is really just -3. So I end up with an equation that looks like this. We're almost done, but not quite. I still want to get y by itself. You notice that I have a subtracting 5 next to it. So I want to go ahead and get rid of that subtracting 5 by adding 5 to both sides. -5 and a +5 zero each other out, and then I'm left with a y equals 3/4 x plus 2. Doesn't that look like slope-intercept form? So now I know that the slope is 3/4 and the y-intercept is the point 0, 2. If I needed to, I could even graph this line. I not only know what his equation is, but I can also graph it because now I have all the important things I need, as long as we have a slope and a point. Let's do another one. If you look at B, it tells us that the slope is -1/2 and the line goes through the point -3, 7. I have a slope, I have a point. I should be able to plug those into my point slope form and find the equation of this line. Let's do it. Point slope form says y minus y1, so I have y minus 7, equals m, -1/2, times x minus x1. You know that I have a minus in my formula and I'm plugging in a -3. Remember that those two negatives make a positive. And now I can go ahead and distribute this -1/2 through. When I do that, I end up with the equation y minus 7 equals -1/2 minus, because a negative times a positive is a negative, 3/2. Okay, not quite done. I still want to get y by itself. It looks like there's a -7 next to the y, so I need to go ahead and get rid of that 7 by adding 7 to both sides. The problem is I have a -3/2 plus 7. You notice that one of them is a fraction. And remember, anytime we're adding or subtracting fractions, we have to have a common denominator, right? So what would be our common denominator between 2 and 1, essentially? 2. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 7 over 1 by 2 in the numerator and 2 in the denominator, and I ended up getting positive 14/2. So I still have my -3/2, and now I have positive 14/2, which is the same thing as 7. But now at least they have a common denominator, right? And so if I have -3/2 plus 14/2, I really end up with 11/2. My equation then of my line in slope-intercept form is y equals -1/2 x plus 11/2. I know that my slope is -1/2 and my y-intercept now is the point 0, 11/2. Might be a little bit harder to graph because we would just be doing halvesies. We'd be estimating a little bit, but we can still graph it. And the graph should still be an equation of a line. So remember, as long as you have a point and a slope, you should be able to use your point-slope form, plug in your information, and you can find any equation of any line.